G'day and welcome back to Down the Shed with Byron. And in this episode, I'm getting stuck back into the VX Calais that needs a little bit of love before we give it to safety grandpa. Now, a quick recap on the VX Calais. We swapped the mother-in-law's old Mazda 6 for this Calais. The engine had a little bit of a knock, which we haven't pulled that apart yet to find out what was wrong with it. We ended up buying a second-hand engine and throwing that straight in. So the big fella, my boy, and I gave this car a little bit of love. Probably went a little bit too far at the same time, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was right. The next thing, my dad, safety grandpa, has fallen in love with it, and he would like to take it off our hands. So I said to Dad, righto, I'll go through it and try and make sure everything's hunky-dory for you. So when you get it back over to South Australia, because he's going to change the rego, it goes over the pits, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it just goes over with no dramas. What my plans in this episode, maybe a couple of episodes, is to get stuck into a few odd jobs on the car. We've got a power steering leak. The aircon works, but I can see one of the hoses seems to be weeping. So I've been down to my mates. They've degassed it for us. So we've got some hoses to replace on the aircon side. Then the central locking plate up. So if you do follow us, we had the passenger side door that stayed down, which was a pain in the butt. But I had a bloke come around the other day, Tony, bloody legend. We're just talking crap, and he managed to get that lock to come back up. So got to pull that door trim off. The back door we need to pull apart because the central locking in that one, I can't remember if it locks, but it won't unlock. So I've got another actuator for that. We have the boot full of brake parts because I'm going to replace front and rear brakes as well. I was looking at replacing the front suspension, which I borrowed me mate James's old Stato and stripped out the front end on that, which I'll throw you a quick hyperlink of how long it took me to pull out. And with all that suspension out now, I was just having a bit of a look over it. There's a couple of little differences between the VT series to the VX series, which is everything from the sway bar links. So that's like bush end to bush end, where the VX has got a little ball joint down the bottom. The struts look okay. I'm gonna get some new like dust boots for protecting the chrome rod. But this left-hand side looks like it's possibly just weeping. But I'll double check with the boys when I go down there because I'm going to replace these ball joints as well. All these bushes look okay and they'll go again. Otherwise, while I'm there, I'll grab some new ones and we'll throw them in so the arms are reconditioned. But that's for, I have a feeling at the moment, for another video. But we'll get to that. And then I was speaking to my mate Dan from Vision Trim, and I just asked him, would he be able to help us out with the front seats on the old girl and sort them out? And he's like, yeah, no dramas, man. Send me a heap of photos and we'll go from there. Now, these have seen better days, where the cushion's a bit, how you going? The plastic's broken off. I'll try and sort that out. The side section as you jump in is worn out, but it's the same on my other HSV I've got. It's the same sort of wear. Then we've got what was old mate? He was doing plastering, or he was doing building kitchen benches. So he's just looks like he's just jumped into the car with the bit of wet sort of concretey sort of stuff, which has unfortunately stayed there. One of my mates is going to help us out with a bit of a dash section for here. So we've got to go pick that up on Monday, hopefully. So I'll tear that out, which isn't too hard. So for now, let's get stuck into a couple of quick jobs and smash them out. So we've got the common power steering leak, which is running down from this hose, down the pump, and then down back, going all the way back to the transmission. So what I've ordered, I've got a new hose for there, so that's what your delivery line, and that feels hard as. And then I've got the little return line here. We're going to replace that and put some new power steering fluid in, and then I'm going to have a look through my O-ring kit and see if we've got something to replace that O-ring that goes there. Well, it's one of those moments, yeah, I'm glad I had that little flexi screwdriver thingamajig. That's works a treat. I think when we put the motor back in, must have put that clamp in the wrong position, thinking outside the box. So, if you're ever putting clamps back on, try and think of taking them off when the engine's in. Now, throw the new hoses on, and what I'll do, I'll give all that a clean up, and I might just put a bit of sealant around where the hoses push on, and then I'll put them all back on, make sure the hoses are in a neutral position, and then we'll tighten up the clamps, and that's almost job done. Power steering fluid, forgot about that. Now I'm just topping up the reservoir with some transmission fluid, some Dextron 3, and because I haven't drained the whole system, I'll just fill that up, and we'll turn it over a couple of times and make sure the steering's all good. I've also replaced all the pulleys on the front of the engine. Now, if you remember back when we actually changed this engine out and we did a heap of work to the block, there's one person out there that wrote in the comments, you need to change the water pump. Well, you might as well change the water pump while you're there. Well, mate, if you're watching, you weren't wrong. I had a rumbly noise in the front end here. I thought, piece of piss, we'll just change those pulleys out. Change those pulleys out and put a new belt on it. What the? Still rumbling. I was like, the only thing it can be is the alternator or water pump. But I put a new alternator on it ages ago. Changed the water pump. Oh, boy. Quiet as a whistle. No, quiet as a mouse. That's the one. So, power steering's done. We'll start that up. I'll rotate that, make sure it's all good. We'll move on to that aircon. Now with the radiator plastics out of the way, I've removed that. That just makes it clearer to get to some of this pipe work. I've also removed the air intake, so it just gives you more access down to the compressor. Now I've already pulled the bolt out at the back here. It's a 10mm. The compressor's a 15 and a 13mm nut here. And that's pretty much it. It should come out straight away. Note to self / you guys, that nut there, I'm just going to go get a magnet to save it before I lose it. Now with that nut saved, we'll hopefully put it in a safe position so I don't lose it, and make sure we don't drop anything down into the condenser. Pull this hose out gently. There we go. One end out. Oops, forgot about that clip. Pressure switch, so you can see it's all wet down under here. Well, maybe. I'll do a close-up for you. Pull the end up the compressor without dropping anything in there. Let's try and feed this out now. Well, I couldn't have made a bigger dog's breakfast out of that, could I? All right, let's have a look. Hopefully, we get some new O-rings with the new hosing. Well, pickle me grandmother, you wouldn't believe it. It's come with new O-rings. How often do you get a part that you need to fit and it doesn't come with a gasket, or it doesn't come with the O-ring, or etc. What a pain in the butt, but this time, woohoo, 30 thumbs up. Let's get it fitted. And then the next stage for the aircon part will be run it down, get it vacked, put some gas in it. And then we should have polar bears sitting in the car with Grandpa. And one last thing before I assemble them, just a tip. Throw a bit of aircon oil, or I've got the aircon refrigeration grade oil spray here. So just to lube up those O-rings as they fit. Just another precaution, so hopefully it doesn't leak. Okay, one last thing as a little tip. What I've done is I put a bit of grease, rubber grease in the back of this, or in the socket to put the nut into, to get that one started. Hey, if you've got any tips out there of how to do it, or how you do it, let us know. I've also got over here somewhere, obviously when I try and video, I've lost it. I've got a magnetic socket somewhere. Found it. Yeah, so there's an old snap-on one. I think it may have lost its magnetization. But yeah, that just goes in the end, and then it's got the little magnet sticks through. Might work all right on some bolts, but in the bin. Nah, still goes all right. So, next job. That's all back on. I'll plumb all the intake back up. I'll get back to you. Well, I've decided to move on to the central locking actuators and see what we can find there. Now, has anyone got a tip on how to get these little red bits out? Now, I didn't do that. That's been like that. But I'm just going to use a little seal pick to get in there. But if you've got any other tips of how to get them off, let us know. And these little mongrels in there, those little black cat ones, how to get them off without damaging them or scratching them. Sorry about the sun. Right, I'll pull the rest of the screws out. We'll pull that door card off. Well, there we go. Door cards are off. It's funny how you stuff around with them, you're like, I forgot that last screw. So I'm going to leave the door cards off for now, so I can, we'll play around with central locking and see what happens. I think we should upgrade the speakers, eh? Grandpa was talking about putting a new head unit in it, which we might see if we can sort out. But inside there's a little latch. I'll try and get a photo of it and put it up. But I'm going to stuff around and see if I can work out if that does deadlock, how do you get into it? Because it's an absolute mongrel. I'll have to get the light and have a look. But let's shut the doors, seeing we've got the door cards off, and hit the central locking and see what happens. Right. Locked. Now let's press unlock. Oh, I didn't shut the door properly. So that one's still not working. Oh, that one's not working either. So that's on unlock there. Alright. Now, will that come up now? So this is the drama we were having before. It'd come up just that little bit, but wouldn't go all the way. So that little latch I was talking about, I'll try and put a photo up, is in the down position. If I push that up, there we go. Will it open? There we go. So that's opening now. We push that down. Yep, locks. Up, unlock. No, still got something going on here. So I think we need to change out some lock actuators, but I think they're a bit expensive. But we'll see what we can do. The back door's opening. Now I've got the driver's door playing up as well. It'll lock, then it won't unlock, then it locks. How do you guys do it? Well, I'm back into it today. I've pulled the door cards off the driver's side. I pulled the speakers out of the passenger side. Now I'm just asking for some help. If you guys have done speakers in your Commodore, what have you put in? So the front doors look like they're the, well, from memory, that's like the subwoofer sort of thing, and then there's a tweeter up in the front parcel, well, front dash section. Now I'm just going to go buy some speakers that are on special or eBay ones, just something that's a bit better quality. The rear doors look like they're a two-way speaker. So what do you do? Do you get away with throwing a couple of cheapies from Super Cheap in there, or what? Is it 6x9s that go on the back here? They fit up through the bottom of the parcel shelf? So that's another job that I'm adding to the bloody list. But on the Stato, I was just playing around with it before, all the central locking works on it. Should I pull the actuators out of this, well, the door lock assemblies, and throw them into the Calais, or should I buy new? Anyway, I'll wrap the video up there. I'll continue stuffing around. In the next video, I should be doing the front suspension, all the brakes, and hopefully we've got that central locking working. All right, take it easy, and I'll see you when I'm looking at you.